Hello, this is Carrie Fell. Welcome to my studio. Today I'm going to do a primary color experiment. These aren't true primaries. These are versions of the three primary colors of blue, red, and yellow, but this will create a rainbow of some sort. It will be interesting to see how it looks. So these are Prochem acid dyes in National Blue, Boysenberry, and Gold. So I'm going to combine these on some warps and see what we come up with. I'm going to go over to my wall here. I've got some warps waiting to be dyed. I think I'll do these three. This one here needs to be dyed for my stash busting blanket project, which is a huge project, using up all of as much of this 4-cell 4-ply yarn as I have left. Yeah, it's going to be mix and match colors, so having a rainbow in there will work just fine. This is a beautiful alpaca silk warp, just 3 yards long. Going to make a huck lace scarf out of this, very in the same pattern as my dyeing and weaving a lacy scarf video. And this is a random wool with little bits of viscose warp. This is 3 yards long and I don't know what it will be yet, but it's gonna go in the pot just because I think I can cram all those in there. We'll see. Yarn is here in the bucket soaking. We've got all 3 warps in here. They look like they'll fit no problem. I've put all the dye in 3 squeeze bottles. So we have the gold, the, what is that, boysenberry, and the National Blue. And the gold has a slightly green tinge to it, but I'm used to colors not being what their final color will be. So this will be interesting to see what the heat does to this gold. Also, this is fairly concentrated, so what I did, I mixed up a stock, 10 grams of dye powder to 500 mils of water, and then I drew 60 mils of that stock and put it in this and topped it up with water. So how many mils is one of these bottles? I'm thinking this is about 300 mils. Anyways, so what we've got here is not the straight stock, but diluted stock anyways. So I'm going to move the yarn into the pan next, and then we'll just start applying color and see what we get. This is the wool viscose. Oh, there's 2 chains. Let's alternate the chains. I like to do that so that we have the 2 chains in the warp with the colors in different parts down the length. So the 2 chains will have the same colors, they'll just be in different places. Let's put this silk, this alpaca silk blend in next. I'm not squeezing out water. I want a little bit of flowage, is that a word? Of color. And the same thing, we're going to put the 2 warp chains end to end opposite. The big fat one. Now I deliberately chose a nice white alpaca silk there because the other warps have some color to them to darken, and I'd like to see what the colors look like on white or natural. That's a natural. There we go. I'm going to just, I think, no, I think I'll add a little bit of water. Just so the color will flow a bit more. I think the the wool's going to really be thirsty. All right, we're just going to wing this. I don't have a plan except to add color and flip and add more color. Gold. Boysenberry. Blue. Bottle's leaking. That is a strong blue. And I want the blue to mix with the yellow, but I also want the blue to mix with the red. So put it down here next to the boysenberry as well. I think we're going to lose the gold, as the blue will probably take over. Oh, look at that. I love how those two colors look next to each other. I wonder if that'll stay. Okay, I think we will add some heat and then flip it. As I move it around. And now the colors mix. It's becoming green down there. Yes, that needs a lot more color, doesn't it? And we're going to get a lot of purple by the looks of it. The blue and the boysenberry are strong. I'm going to keep the color in the same areas because I think by flipping we're going to get a lot of mixing. I don't have to make a point of blending colors. because I think it's going to happen. And I might need to mix some more gold. It's the color that's going to be needing the most help to preserve itself. I don't think it will preserve. And I think we're going to get a lot of greens and purples. Don't know if there's going to be much rainbow. Don't think we're going to get the oranges unless I start squirting a lot more yellow, which is what I'm going to do. I'm going to let this heat up and I'm going to mix some more of the gold because I'm out and it's the weakest color, so I might only add gold from now on. The other bottles, I've used about 2/3 of the boysenberry and 3/4 of the blue. I'm going to put them aside for now. They seem quite strong. It's only been 5 minutes or so, but lots of color has been absorbed already. Look at that. In the middle, there's not much color there. That's good. This blue absorbs quickly. Seems like the gold is the slowest almost. But moving it around will help the dye find new areas that need color. So that's the point of this. Moving. Let's add a bit more gold to these parts. I'm going to add gold there for the fun of it. Oh, still lots of blue there. As I move it around, I find new areas that look pale. And need attention. So it can be difficult to see what the colors are since these two were so dark to begin with. I deliberately put the alpaca silk in the middle so that the color that would stop the colors from traveling up and down so much. On the sides we tend to have color that travels up and down the sides of the pan and reach the length of the warp, and then if you wedge a warp in the middle, there's less chance of that happening. So we've got some pale areas here, and I don't know whether to keep that. It's kind of a nice color. Might make a nice sheen when it's woven up, to leave some light areas like that. Because we're not going to see any light areas in the other part, so maybe I'll just leave that. As well, we'll have some light blue here. I don't mind that. Okay, I'm going to turn down the heat a bit. And now that most of the color is absorbed, I'm going to add some more water so that the fiber will sort of float freely, and then the color will get to those last bits that aren't in there yet. So this is the soap water with citric acid. And now I'm just going to let this heat steam away, and that'll help it set. Okay, it's been about 20 minutes. Ooh, I'm not seeing much color here at all. A little hint of purple. That's about it. I'm gonna flip it again so we don't get any really dark areas. Yeah, see, we get some dark areas that are the areas that are touching the heat. Some of this looks like it may be the original color there still, or maybe it's just that's what the yellow looks like. I don't know. So I'll do a bunch of flipping here. So I'm going to let it steam for another, turn it down slightly, let it steam for another 20 minutes, and then I'll turn it off and let it cool down in the pan. Okay, another 20 minutes is up. And again, just a hint of maybe purple in the water. And I suspect that if I turn off the heat and let it cool down in the pan, that the water will be clear. I like how some areas stayed lighter. That looks like the alpaca silk warp, although it is green. We don't have any of the gold that preserved. Because it's very hard to preserve yellows in a dye pot like this. So if I hand painted it, then it wouldn't, and then steamed it, then it wouldn't have traveled like that. But yes, I can't wait to see what this looks like once it's out of the water. I'm gonna turn off the heat now and let it cool down, and I will check it in a couple of hours and we'll see what the colors look like. And it is pretty cool. A little lukewarm in the middle there, but I think we're good to wash it now. So this is the gray colored wool that had the little bits of viscose in it. Oh, beautiful colors. Oh, they're deep and rich. Ah, lovely. And this is the alpaca silk. Oh, people have asked about these little tags. Um, these are little mini index cards from Walmart. They come in packages of, I don't know, 50 or something, meant to be put into the little index card boxes. And they are plastic, fairly heavy, and I just cut them up into pieces. And they just hold up to the heat. I don't know what they're made of, what kind of plastic they are, but they're indestructible. I write with a Sharpie what the yarn is, because I dye so many different pieces and I have trouble telling them apart, and I can write the number of ends on there so I know exactly what I have, and I just keep reusing. I just keep scratching off and writing newer things on there. They go through the heat beautifully. After I'm finished drying them and everything, I replace these plastic tags with paper ones. Oh, the nuances of color in there are gorgeous. And then this is the big chain. So this is the big warp chain that I'm going to put on the loom as part of my stash busting blankets. I have random cones left of the 4-cell 4-ply. I'm not paying any attention to what matches or goes well with what color. I'm just putting a crazy random assortment of color on the loom. While I still have enough of this 4-cell 4-ply to make blankets, I realize I'm using it up bit by bit, and if I want to make blankets I have to do it now before I'm completely out. So this was a gray color, and it dyed wonderfully. I don't know if there's any of that gray left. There might be a little. No, I don't think so. It's lovely, isn't it? So here's all the scrumptious yarn from this latest dye session. I'll rinse them now with some soap and water and hang them to dry, and we will look at them when they are dry. Here's the dry yarn. Just look at this. Those colors are awesome. I'm in love. Now, it's not at all what I expected. I expected more of a rainbow, but what we got was blues, and then the colors on either side, so purple and green. So kind of a triadic color scheme, which is gorgeous. So over here is the alpaca silk warp. So I have 3 yards here ready to go on the loom, and 2 different warp bundles, which will have the colors changing places down the length. So I'll weave this up. And this here is the wool warp. It's that tweedy colored warp. It's very interesting. It started off as gray, and yet it is not really a whole lot darker than this one. So it took the color and didn't deepen a whole lot over the white yarn. And then here, this is the 15-yard warp stash buster, the deep gray that I over dyed, and this is going to go on the loom for my stash busting blankets. It's going to be an absolutely crazy set of blankets in every color you can think of. So this is going on the loom next. Despite my attempts at keeping the gold as gold, it seems to have been swallowed up by the other colors. We've got, a green that is light in places, but it's not gold. So I'm still not sure what the gold looks like. And I'm going to keep experimenting with that gold because I'd like to see what the actual color is. Even on the white here, it turned green. So I must have been just enough blue to sort of change the color. And this particular batch of yarn did not give me the rainbow. What I thought was primaries was not, and so no rainbow on this one, but a beautiful color scheme nonetheless. If you're enjoying my dyeing adventures, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't done so. If you'd like to support me as I create these videos and others, please head on over to my Patreon where you can pledge your support. I love my patrons and thank you so much for making all this possible. Thank you for watching.